I used to think love sounded like laughter echoing off cheap apartment walls, like whispered promises over instant noodles at 2 a.m. Clara's laughter once filled every corner of my life. Now it echoes in memory instead of the room. Are you working late again? I asked, pretending calm while stirring the pasta she'd forgotten to make. She slipped her heels off. Yeah, the campaign's insane this week. You know how Ryan is. Ryan. The name rolled off her tongue too easily. He must pay you overtime for all those midnight calls. She chuckled lightly, avoiding my eyes. Don't start, Ethan. You know how ambitious I am. I know, I said, though my chest tightened. Just wish ambition came home before midnight sometimes. She kissed my cheek, quick, perfunctory. You worry too much. It's just work. Those 3 words, just work, would later tear everything apart, but that night they only tasted slightly bitter. Sophie peeked from the hallway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Mommy, you're home. Clara smiled for her, real and bright. Of course, baby. I watched them hug, wondering when that smile had stopped belonging to me. At dinner, Sophie talked about her drawing. Clara nodded absently while checking her phone. I said, can we eat without screens for once? She locked it quickly, face neutral. Sorry, Habit. The lock sound felt louder than her apology. After Sophie went to bed, I lingered by the sink. You're different lately, I said. Distant, Clara's spoon clinked. You're imagining things. We're both just tired. Maybe, I muttered. But when you laugh at your phone, it's not with me, she sighed, exasperated. Ethan, not everything is about you. I didn't say it was, I said quietly. I just miss us. She softened a little. Me too. But the words felt like an echo. No warmth, no weight. When she went to shower, I sat alone, staring at the table for 2. The candle wax had hardened mid-melt, like time had stopped halfway through love. Liam called then, voice too loud in the silence. You alive, man? Barely. Still arguing? Not really arguing, more like fading, he whistled. You built everything around her, Ethan. Don't let her be the thing that breaks it. I forced a laugh. Easy advice when it's not your marriage. Maybe, he said. But if you have to fight alone, maybe you're the only one still in the ring. After hanging up, I sat by Sophie's door listening to her tiny snores. I envied how easily children trust sleep, believing morning always fixes things. When Clara came out of the shower, steam trailing her, I said, You smell different. She froze. It's new shampoo, Jasmine. Smells like cologne to me, she frowned. You're imagining things again. Maybe, I said, though the scent clawed at me like proof I couldn't name. We climbed into bed wordlessly. I faced the wall. She faced her phone until she thought I was asleep. The screen lit her face like a confession. Good night, Ryan, she whispered softly, then locked it. My breath caught, but I didn't move. My heart thudded against the mattress, each beat a question I wasn't ready to ask. Morning came pale and brittle. She left early. I stayed home pretending to work. Every vibration of my phone made me flinch, half hoping, half dreading her text. None came. At noon, I found her scarf on the chair. It smelled faintly of smoke and some stranger's cologne. I told myself offices have lots of sense, that I was paranoid. Lies are easiest when you tell them to yourself first. That evening, Sophie and I waited by the window. When's Mommy coming? She asked. Soon, I said, though the clock said otherwise. At 9, Clara texted, Late meeting. Don't wait up, Sophie pouted. But she promised movie night. Next time, sweetheart, we watched the movie without her. Halfway through, Sophie fell asleep on my chest. Her small heartbeat steadied mine. I whispered, I'll keep us safe no matter what. I wasn't sure who I was promising, her or myself. Lights off. Silence thick. I heard the door at midnight. Clara tiptoed in, heels in hand. You're awake, she whispered. Yeah, I said, not moving. Good meeting? Exhausting. Worth it? She hesitated. Always. I wanted to ask worth what, but I swallowed it. Instead, I said, Sophie missed you. She'll understand when she's older. I nodded, though my stomach turned. You smell like smoke again. Bar meeting. Don't be dramatic. Right. She slipped into bed, turning away. The distance between us felt measured in miles, not inches. For a long time, I stared at the ceiling, tracing cracks that weren't there. I wondered if love died quietly or in explosions. I was starting to hear the fuse. Morning sunlight crawled through blinds. Sophie bounced onto the bed. "Daddy, wake up!" Her laughter warmed me for a heartbeat before she wrinkled her nose. "Mommy smells funny." Clara blinked awake, startled. "What do you mean, baby?" "Like someone else," Sophie said innocently. "Not like you." My blood froze. Clara's eyes darted toward me. I forced a smile. "Go brush your teeth, kiddo." When she ran off, the room turned silent except for the sound of Clara's breathing. I stared at her, the lie glowing between us like neon. "Just work, huh?" I whispered. She didn't answer, and that silence was louder than any truth could ever be. Clara's phone buzzed across the counter as she headed for the shower. The screen lit up. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A message glowed. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." Ryan, my stomach twisted. My hand hovered, shaking. The sound of running water muffled my heartbeat, but it felt like thunder inside my ribs. I unlocked her phone. The passcode hadn't changed. Thread after thread, messages, photos, hotel reservations. Words like, "last night was perfect," and "next time let's stay longer." My world split open. When I heard the shower stop, panic rushed in. I locked the phone and set it back exactly how she'd left it. She came out wrapped in a towel, humming. "You made coffee?" "Yeah," I said flatly. Left it on the table. She smiled. "You're sweet. Who's Ryan?" The smile froze. "What?" I watched her face carefully. "You said your boss's name is Ryan, right?" "Yeah, why?" I was just wondering, does he always text employees with hearts? Her towel slipped slightly as her grip tightened. "What are you talking about?" I didn't blink. Your phone buzzed. Message popped up. I didn't mean to see it. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "So you're checking my phone now?" "I saw it by accident," I said, voice low. "But I saw enough." "You're overreacting, Ethan." She reached for the phone. "Give it." I didn't move. "He said he misses you." She snatched it from my hand, scrolling fast, deleting something. "You must have misread." I know what I read. Her tone sharpened. "You're being paranoid. Ryan's my boss, nothing more. Bosses don't book hotel rooms together." That hit. Her face went pale. "You went through my messages?" I laughed bitterly. "Hard not to when they jump out screaming love affair. You had no right." "No right?" I took a step closer. "You swore it was just work. Tell me, what part of that message was business?" Her breathing quickened. "You don't understand. It's complicated. Then make me understand." She turned away. "It started as work dinners. He listened when you didn't." I froze. "So it's my fault?" "No," she said softly. "But you were distant. Always busy. I built this house for us. For you. For Sophie." "I didn't plan it," she whispered. "It just happened," my voice cracked. "How long?" "Ethan, please, how long?" Her tears came fast. "A few months. Maybe more." I let out a sharp breath, half laugh, half disbelief. "Months! It didn't mean... Don't say it didn't mean anything." I cut her off. "You don't send hearts to something meaningless." She tried to touch my arm. "I was lonely." I stepped back. "You could have talked to me." "I was scared," she said. "Scared of what we'd become." "What we'd become?" I repeated, incredulous. "You destroyed what we were." Silence stretched. Only the dripping faucet filled the space between us. Finally, I asked, "Did Sophie ever meet him?" Her eyes widened again. "Of course not. Swear it. I swear." I stared at her for a long time, searching for truth. There was none. Only guilt painted across her face. "Ethan," she whispered, "I love you." I laughed again, cold, hollow. "No, you love who I was before you met him." Tears streaked her cheeks. "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was a choice." She sobbed quietly, but the sound didn't move me. Something inside me had gone numb. Finally, I said, "You should go." Her head snapped up. "Go where?" "To wherever you're meeting him next." "Don't do this," she pleaded. "We can fix it." "Fix what? Trust?" "You burned it." "I'll quit the job," she said desperately. "I'll cut him off, please." I shook my head. You can't unwrite words like I miss you, she grabbed my hands. Ethan, look at me. I'm still your wife. Not tonight, she stepped back, tears pooling. I didn't mean to hurt you. You did anyway. The air felt heavy, thick with everything unsaid. Finally, she whispered, I'm sorry. I wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. Sorry doesn't rebuild what you broke. I'll make it right, then start by telling him it's over. She nodded shakily. I will. But even as she said it, I saw her eyes flick toward the phone, toward him. That glance told me more than any confession could. She picked up her bag, voice trembling. I'll stay at my sister's tonight, I nodded. Take what you need. At the door, she turned. Ethan? Don't, her lips quivered. Then she left. The click of the door felt final. For a long time, I stood there, staring at the silent phone on the counter. The same phone that once held family photos now held proof that I'd been replaced. Liam called a few minutes later. You sound wrecked. What happened? She cheated. Clara? Yeah, my voice cracked. I saw the messages. Jesus, Ethan. I thought I'd feel angry, I said, but I just feel empty. He was quiet for a moment. Do you want me to come over? No, I whispered. There's nothing to say that hasn't already been lied about. Don't do anything stupid, he said. I already did, I replied. I trusted her. When the call ended, I stared at the ring mark her coffee cup had left on the counter. It looked like a stain that wouldn't fade, just like tonight, and for the first time, I realized love doesn't end with a goodbye. It ends with a notification you weren't meant to see. The night Clara left, the house didn't just fall silent, it died. She took Sophie. Her clothes, the framed photo from our bedroom, only the echo of her perfume stayed. I sat on the couch staring at the empty doorway. She's really gone, I whispered to no one. The rain outside beat against the glass. I wanted it to drown the quiet, but it only made it louder. The wedding photo on the shelf caught my eye, us smiling, hands intertwined. I picked it up, tracing her face with my thumb. What part of me wasn't enough? I muttered. The phone buzzed. Liam. I almost ignored it, but I couldn't handle the silence anymore. Yeah? Ethan, talk to me, he said. What's going on? She left. What do you mean, left? Bags, kid, everything, gone. He swore under his breath. Jesus, I'm coming over. Don't, I said. There's nothing here worth seeing. Like hell there isn't. You sound broken? I laughed bitterly. That's the word, right? Listen, he said firmly. You didn't lose love, Ethan. You lost a liar. Easy for you to say. You still have a family? You think this is your fault? Isn't it? I snapped. Maybe I didn't see her fading. Maybe I stopped being enough, he sighed. Stop doing that. You gave her everything, and she still left. You can't reason with betrayal, he said quietly. You just survive it. Survive it? I echoed. Feels more like drowning, he paused. Then let me throw you a line. Don't, I said again, softer this time. I don't want to be saved right now. When I hung up, the photo was still in my hand. I stared at it until the glass blurred with my reflection. Then I threw it. The frame shattered across the floor, pieces scattering like my thoughts. That was the first night I drank again. One glass turned into 2, then 4. The burn was the only thing I could still feel. Days blurred. I stopped answering calls, stopped shaving, stopped pretending I was fine. Work emails piled up, but I didn't care. My assistant left voicemails. Ethan, we need you in the meeting. Ethan. Clients are asking where you are. All I could hear was her voice in my head, Clara's laughter, echoing from every corner of the house. Sometimes it was so clear, I'd turn around and whisper, Clara, nothing. Just air. I started keeping a glass beside the bed. One night turned into 10. Liam showed up eventually, uninvited. He looked around the wreck of my living room. Empty bottles, cold coffee, shattered frame. Jesus, man. Welcome to paradise, I said flatly. He picked up a bottle. This isn't you. Maybe it is now. He sat down beside me. You built a company from nothing, Ethan. Don't burn it down over someone who didn't deserve you. She took my kid, I said. Tell me how to wake up from that. He didn't answer. Just sighed. You've got to get out of this house. Take a walk. Eat something. I don't need food, I muttered. I need silence to stop sounding like her. He looked at me carefully. You're hearing her, aren't you? I nodded slowly. She laughs when I close my eyes. It's not memory, it's punishment. Liam rubbed his face. You need help. I need her to stop existing in my head. She will, he said. But only if you let her go. I don't know how. He leaned forward. Then start small, shave, sleep, go back to work. Pretend until it feels real, I shook my head. Pretending's what got me here. His jaw tightened. You're going to lose everything if you don't move. Already did, I said. The rest doesn't matter, he stood, frustrated. Fine, drink yourself numb. But don't call me when the company's gone too. He walked out. The door slammed, but his words stayed. I poured another drink. You didn't lose love, Ethan. You lost a liar. I whispered it to the empty room until it didn't sound like English anymore. Outside, thunder cracked. The lights flickered once, then steadied. I closed my eyes and tried to remember the last time her laughter meant warmth instead of ache. I couldn't. I was left with echoes, her voice, the rain, and the sound of my own breathing, steady but hollow. That was the night I broke, and I didn't know how to put myself back together again. It had been 6 months since Clara left. I'd stopped counting the days until the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Sophie shot past me with a shout. Dad! I froze. Sophie! I dropped to my knees as she wrapped her arms around my neck. Hey, sweetheart. Her little laugh filled the doorway, and for a moment, everything hurt again, but in a good way. Then I looked up. Clara stood there, pale, hesitant. Behind her was a man I'd never seen in person but already hated, Ryan Hale. He smiled like he was walking into his own home. Clara's voice trembled. Ethan, can we come in? I stepped aside slowly. Sure, why not? It's still my house, after all. Ryan's eyes flicked over the living room. Nice place, cozy. Didn't come here for decor talk, I said. Clara gave him a warning glance before sitting down. Ethan, I just wanted to talk about co-parenting. Sophie misses you, Sophie tugged my sleeve. I told Mommy I wanted to see you. I smiled softly at her. I missed you too, Bug. Ryan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. We just want what's best for her. We?
I repeated.
Funny choice of words for someone who didn't help make her. Clara shot me a look. Don't start this, Ethan. I leaned back on the couch, forcing calm into my tone. I'm not starting anything. You came to my door, she sighed. I thought we could be civil. Civil? I said. You cheated, took my daughter, and moved in with him. I think I've already been civil. Sophie looked up, confused. Daddy, what's cheated? Clara's face went white. It's nothing, honey. Grown-up talk, Ryan chuckled quietly. Let's not make this ugly. It already is, I said. Clara stood. I just want to make sure you and I can both be there for Sophie without more. Tension. I looked at her carefully. You mean you want me quiet while he plays stepdad? Ryan's just helping, she said quickly. He's good with her. Yeah, I murmured. Bet he is. Sophie hugged my arm. Mommy said Uncle Ryan takes me to the park. Uncle Ryan, I repeated. My chest tightened. That what you call him, sweetheart? She nodded. Uh-huh. He says I can call him that. Clara looked away, pretending to fix her bag strap. Uncle, I said again, almost laughing. Still lying, Clara, even to her. Her eyes filled with irritation. Don't do this in front of Sophie. I crouched, meeting my daughter's eyes. Go play in your old room for a bit, okay? She nodded and ran off. Once she was gone, I straightened up. You think calling him uncle makes this better? It's complicated, she said. No, I said. It's convenient. Ryan's smirk didn't fade. Maybe you should calm down. Maybe you should get out of my house, I snapped. Clara stepped between us. Please, I'm just trying to make this easier for Sophie. Then stop pretending, I said. You already tore everything apart. Let her at least grow up knowing which pieces belong to who. Ryan muttered. You sound bitter? Bitter keeps me breathing, I said. Clara's tone softened. Ethan, I didn't come here to fight. Then why are you here? She hesitated. Because Sophie needs her dad. That line hit me harder than I expected. I exhaled slowly. Then don't ever use her to clean your guilt. Clara's lip trembled. Ryan put a hand on her shoulder, protective, possessive. I watched the gesture, felt the burn rise again, but this time I swallowed it. You two should go. She hesitated, then nodded. We'll talk again soon. When the door closed, the silence roared louder than before. A knock followed 10 minutes later. It was Liam. He looked at me, then the half-empty whiskey glass on the table. You okay? I laughed quietly. Define okay, he walked in. She came by? With company. Ryan? Yeah, met the man himself. He's everything I imagined, arrogant, smug, breathing, Liam grimaced. What did they want? Co-parenting, he leaned against the wall. And how'd that go? I smiled. I didn't hit him. That's progress, right? He gave a small nod. I'm proud of you for not swinging. Don't be, I said. I wanted to. Ethan, he said carefully, you can't keep letting them drag you into their storm. They walked into my storm tonight. He exhaled. Play the long game. Don't destroy yourself again. Let them destroy themselves. I looked at the broken photo on the counter. Long game, huh? Yeah, he said. You've already hit rock bottom. Time to start climbing. I poured the whiskey down the sink. Then I guess I'll stop playing the victim. He smiled faintly. That's more like it. As he left, I stood by the window, watching the taillights fade. I wasn't the broken one anymore. Not after tonight. Grace leaned over my desk, whispering, You really want to dig into Ryan Hale's empire? I nodded. Quietly. No one can know it's me. She smirked. You're planning something. I'm planning clarity, I said, though the word tasted like revenge. We spent nights tracing paper trails, fake invoices, ghost suppliers, offshore accounts. Every file screamed fraud. Grace's voice lowered as she scrolled through another spreadsheet. This man's entire empire is a house of cards. Just like his love life, I muttered. She glanced at me. Still hurts? Not anymore, I lied. Her eyes softened. You say that, but your hands shake every time her name comes up. I looked at my trembling fingers and forced a laugh. Maybe caffeine. Or ghosts, she said quietly. The silence that followed was sharp. I filled it with focus. Line items, signatures, dates. Numbers didn't lie. People did. Later that night, I found a file about employee kickbacks. Grace, look at this. Ryan's been bribing city officials. She scanned it and whistled. This is enough to bury him. Not yet, I said. I need the full picture. She frowned. Why wait? Because timing kills faster than truth. Days blurred into nights. Every document uncovered another lie. Every discovery carved another piece off my old self. Then one afternoon, I stumbled across something unexpected. Sophie's birth record. I froze. The date didn't match. The attending physician wasn't the one Clara mentioned. Grace noticed my silence. What is it? Nothing, I said too quickly, closing the file. Her eyes narrowed. Ethan, what did you see? Just something I shouldn't doubt. Grace hesitated. Her? My daughter, I whispered. She softened her tone. You're thinking DNA. I stared at the screen, feeling the room close in. I can't do that to her. Do what? Turn love into evidence. Grace nodded slowly. Then don't. You already know what matters. But I didn't. Not really. That night, Clara called. Her voice was syrup, sweet, practiced. You've been distant lately. I've been busy. With Grace? The accusation slid out sharp. I laughed without humor. Does that bother you? I just think it's funny, she said. You act like you've moved on, but you still love me. I leaned back, letting the lie rise and settle in my throat. Of course I do. She exhaled, relieved. I knew it. But, I added quietly, it doesn't mean what it used to. Her tone faltered. What's that supposed to mean? It means you don't haunt me anymore. Ethan, good night, Clara. I hung up before her voice could twist my resolve. The next morning, Grace walked in with 2 coffees. Rough night? She called. Let me guess. She wants you confused again. I smirked. She's good at that. And you? I'm getting better. Grace studied me, her gaze careful. You look colder. Maybe that's progress. She sighed. Or armor. I didn't correct her. I needed armor. Love had left me raw and pain had sharpened the edges. Now I wore silence like steel. That evening, I returned to the file about Sophie. I stared at her name, my daughter's, printed in neat black ink. My heart whispered, "She's yours," while my mind whispered, "Are you sure?" I closed my eyes. I saw her laughter, her drawings, the way she called me Dad without hesitation. That was real. That was mine. When Grace called to check in, I answered with a weary voice. "I'm fine." "You don't sound fine." I just realized truth doesn't always heal. Sometimes it just ruins what's left. She paused. Then maybe stop looking for truth. Start building something instead. Her words lingered long after the call ended. Later, Clara showed up uninvited. The scent of her perfume filled my doorway like déjà vu. "You're still angry," she said softly. "I'm still remembering." She stepped closer. "You could forgive me." "I could," I said. "But then what? You'd lie better next time?" Her eyes flashed. "You think you're so cold now, but I know you, Ethan. You'll always love me." I stared at her, at the woman who once held my heart like glass and dropped it without flinching. "Maybe," I said, "but that love doesn't owe you anything anymore." She looked wounded, almost human. "You've changed." Good. When she left, the air finally felt lighter. Grace texted an hour later. "Got what we need. Ryan's finished." I stared at the message, feeling nothing. Not victory, not joy. Just quiet. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Not smiles, but silence that doesn't hurt. I looked out the window where the night spread endless and cold. "You were right, Liam," I murmured to the empty room. I didn't lose love. I lost a liar, and for the first time, I believed it. Grace stormed into my office, waving her phone like a victory flag. "Ethan, it's out!" I looked up from my laptop. Mark published it? Front page, full exposé, every fake invoice, every shell company, every bribe, it's all there. A strange calm spread through me. Then it's done. Grace sat across from me, grinning. "You don't sound excited." "I'm not sure revenge is supposed to feel like fireworks," I said. "Maybe more like closure." She leaned back. "Still, it's poetic. The man who built his empire on lies just got buried by truth." I nodded slowly. "And the best part? He'll never know who handed him the shovel." She smirked. "Anonymous tip, right?" "Anonymous," I confirmed. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, Ryan Hale became the face of corporate deceit. Headlines screamed about fraud and corruption. Lawsuits piled up faster than his PR team could breathe. Grace updated me every hour. "Investors are pulling out. His board just suspended him." "Good," I muttered. "Let him taste instability." 2 days later, my phone buzzed. "Clara!" I hesitated before answering. Her voice trembled through the line. "Ethan, everything's falling apart." I heard. "Ryan's company. People are calling nonstop. Reporters outside our house. I didn't know..." "Didn't know he was a fraud?" I said quietly. "You always had good instincts for liars, Clara. Surprised you missed this one." She sniffled. "He used me, Ethan." I closed my eyes, leaning back in my chair. "You swore it was just work." Her breath hitched. "Don't do that." "I'm not doing anything. Karma is." For a moment, all I could hear was her crying. Finally, she whispered, "I thought he loved me." "Love doesn't need proof of deposit," I said coldly. "You chose him over me. Now live with him, or what's left." "You've changed," she said, voice breaking. I had to, I replied, and ended the call. I sat there, staring at my reflection in the black screen of my phone. I didn't feel joy, just quiet. Maybe that was peace, the kind that doesn't celebrate, only breathes. Grace walked in a few minutes later. Let me guess. Clara called? I nodded. She's realizing Ryan was just another mask. She's realizing too late. Grace sighed, setting down 2 coffees. You don't sound satisfied. Because satisfaction implies I still care, I said. And I don't. She smiled faintly. That's new. I looked at her. You helped me see through all of it.
Thank you. You don't need to thank me. You did the hard part. No, I said softly. You reminded me there's still something left to rebuild. Grace tilted her head. Then let's rebuild it. The next few weeks felt strangely still.
My company, once on the brink of collapse, was finally breathing again. Clients returned, projects resumed. Grace handled half the load, and for the first time, the office didn't feel like a battlefield. One evening, as we reviewed quarterly numbers, she said, You know, peace looks good on you. Peace? I smiled faintly. Feels foreign. Maybe because it's real. The following morning, I saw Ryan's face plastered on every news channel. Ryan Hale indicted on charges of fraud and embezzlement. I didn't flinch. I just turned off the TV. Later that night, Clara called again. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was softer now, fragile. He's gone, Ethan. Arrested. The house, the cars, all frozen. I don't even know where to go. You have family. They won't take me back. Then maybe start where you ended things, I said dryly. Don't be cruel, she whispered. I'm already paying for it. Cruel, I echoed. You left me bleeding for a man who built his world on lies. I'm just letting you feel the truth. I thought you wanted me to suffer. I wanted you to understand, I said. Now you do. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she asked, Was it you, the expose? I smiled faintly. Would it change anything if I said yes? No, she murmured. I just wanted to know if it was your way of saying goodbye. Goodbye happened the night you walked out. I ended the call and sat there for a long time, the hum of the city outside faint through the glass. Grace called soon after. You okay? Yeah, I said. Just tired. You've been holding the storm for too long, she said softly. Maybe now it's done raining. Then let it wash away what's left. Her words stayed with me. Days turned to weeks. The noise around Ryan's downfall faded into background chatter. My name stayed out of it. His empire burned quietly, piece by piece, and I didn't lift a finger. One evening, Grace and I stood on the office balcony watching the city lights flicker. She handed me a cup of tea. Funny, isn't it? Karma takes her time, but she never forgets. I smiled. She's patient. I learned that the hard way. You don't regret it? No, I said. I regret ever needing it. Grace nodded. Then maybe you're finally free. I looked out at the skyline, the same city that once buried me under its noise.
Now, it felt quiet, like an apology whispered too late. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger, not love, just balance. Not happiness, but peace. When I opened the door that morning, Clara stood there, pale, trembling, and holding Sophie's hand. Ethan, she whispered. I didn't know where else to go. My jaw tightened. You always find my doorstep when your world collapses. She looked down, tears streaking her cheeks. Please, just listen. I stepped aside silently. Sophie ran past me, wrapping her arms around my legs. Daddy! Her voice cracked something inside me. Hey, sweetheart, I murmured, forcing a smile. Clara sat on the couch, her eyes darting everywhere but mine. He left me, she said finally. Ryan, he's gone. Took everything. Congratulations, I said. You chose well.
She flinched. I deserve that. But please, She hesitated, pressing a hand to her stomach. I'm pregnant. I stared at her, the words slicing through the air. His? She nodded, sobbing. Yes, but I have nowhere to go, Ethan. No money, no one. I'm begging you, I exhaled slowly. Why come here? After everything? Because you're not cruel, she said through tears. And because Sophie misses you. I looked at the little girl playing with the hem of my jacket. Sophie always misses honesty, I muttered. Clara's lips trembled. Ethan, I have to tell you something before you hear it from someone else. Go on. Her eyes filled with shame. Sophie, she might not be yours. The room tilted. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. What? I'm not sure, she choked out. When things got distant, Ryan and I, stop! My voice cracked. Just stop talking, she covered her face. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I was confused, angry, and you were faithful? I snapped. Building a future for you? Yeah, I remember, she sobbed harder. I hate myself for it. But please, Ethan, don't turn away from Sophie. She loves you. I stood in silence, staring at her. My chest felt hollow, like something sacred had been scraped out of me. Later that night, after they'd fallen asleep in the guest room, I sat at my desk staring at my laptop. The cursor blinked on a search bar, Paternity Test Private Lab. The next morning, I took Sophie out for ice cream, pretending everything was fine. I collected the sample quietly, a strand of her hair, a cotton swab. She giggled as I tucked it away. Daddy, why are you smiling weird? Just thinking how much you've grown, I said, forcing steadiness into my voice. When the results came days later, I opened the email alone. My hands shook as I read the words. Probability of paternity, 0%. I closed my eyes, but there was no pain, just stillness. The kind that follows a long storm. That evening, Clara approached me in the kitchen. Did you get the test? I nodded. Yeah, her voice quivered. And? I looked at her expressionless. She's not mine, Clara crumbled, falling to her knees. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I destroyed everything good in my life. Yes, I said quietly. You did. She looked up, desperate. Please don't tell her. She thinks you're her father. Let her keep that at least. She doesn't need to think it, I said. She already knows it. A small voice broke the tension. Daddy? Sophie stood in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes glistened. Why is Mommy crying? Clara turned away, sobbing. I knelt beside Sophie. Because grown-ups make mistakes, sweetheart. Are you mad at her? She asked softly. I swallowed hard. A little? But that's okay. Sometimes love hurts before it heals. She blinked up at me. Daddy, don't let Mommy cry. Something inside me shattered and rebuilt itself in the same breath. I pulled her into my arms. Come here, baby. Her little hands wrapped around my neck. You still love me, right? More than words could hold. Always, I whispered. Nothing could ever change that. Clara watched us, tears streaming silently. Ethan? I shook my head. Don't, not now. She wiped her face. You're a better man than I ever deserved. I stopped trying to be your man, I said. Now I'm just trying to be her father. Sophie smiled faintly, her head against my shoulder. You're the best, Daddy. And in that moment, I realized something. Blood didn't define fatherhood. Love did. Later, after tucking her into bed, I stood at the door watching her sleep. Her tiny breaths, her soft curls, none of it shared my DNA, but all of it belonged to my heart. Clara appeared behind me. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't answer. I just stared at Sophie. You're not staying here, I finally said. I'll help you find a place, get you settled. But this... I gestured toward Sophie's room. This is what matters now. Clara nodded slowly. I understand. As she walked away, I felt no hatred, only release. I turned off the light and stood there in the quiet, feeling Sophie's warmth even through the walls. For the first time in years, I didn't feel broken. I felt stronger than the pain. The air smelled of rain that morning, soft, clean, almost like forgiveness. I was walking Sophie to the park, her hand swinging in mine, her laughter filling the quiet. Daddy, can we get ice cream after? She asked, eyes bright. Of course, I said, smiling. You've been good all week, she grinned. You always say that even when I'm naughty. That's because I'm weak, I teased. You've got me wrapped around your finger. We reached the playground, and she ran toward the swings. I sat on a bench, sipping my coffee, watching her feet kick the air. For once, life felt simple, not happy, but calm. Then I heard a voice behind me. Ethan? I turned. Ryan Hale stood there. He looked nothing like the smug man I remembered. Beard unkempt, eyes hollow, clothes wrinkled like they'd forgotten purpose. Didn't think I'd see you here, I said evenly. He gave a half laugh. Didn't think I'd see anyone who remembers my name. Fallen that far, huh? Further, he said quietly. You did this, didn't you? I took another sip of coffee. You did this to yourself. I just stopped helping you hide it. His jaw tensed. You think you're righteous? You leaked everything, cost me everything. My job, my investors, my reputation. You cost yourself those, I interrupted. I just made sure the truth got a voice. He looked down, kicking the gravel. Clara left me. Said she couldn't handle poverty? I shrugged. She always said love was easy when money wasn't the problem. He looked up, bitterness twisting his mouth. She's pregnant, you know. Probably yours this time, I laughed, cold and quiet. No, not mine. I stopped being the man who took responsibility for her lies. He scoffed. You think you're better than me? No, I said. Just cleaner. Before he could respond, a small voice shouted from across the playground. Daddy! Sophie ran toward me, her hair bouncing, eyes shining. She wrapped her arms around my leg, giggling. Ryan froze. His eyes widened. She called you? Dad, I said simply, resting a hand on her head. He blinked as if trying to process it. You know she's not... I know, I said softly. But she doesn't need to be mine by blood to be my daughter. Sophie looked up at me. Who's that man, Daddy? I met Ryan's eyes. No one important, sweetheart. Just someone passing by. Ryan's face twisted. Guilt, anger, regret. A storm he couldn't control. You're a saint, huh? Playing father to another man's kid? I smiled faintly. No, I'm just being what she needed. Something you never were? He looked at Sophie again, and for a second I saw it. The realization of what he'd thrown away. She looks happy, he muttered. She is, I said. And that's all that matters. He stepped back, his voice trembling. I lost everything. You got what you wanted. I shook my head. I didn't want revenge, Ryan. I wanted peace. You just gave it to me. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned away, muttering something I couldn't catch. His figure shrank as he walked toward the street, swallowed by the noise of cars and wind. Sophie tugged my sleeve. Daddy, can we go on the merry-go-round? Sure, I said, smiling. As I lifted her onto the ride, I noticed someone standing at the edge of the park, Clara. She looked thinner, tired, wearing a faded coat that used to shine. Our eyes met. She didn't move closer. Just stood there watching Sophie spin and laugh, her expression unreadable, a mix of love, regret, and the ache of everything she'd lost. When the ride ended, Sophie ran back to me. Mommy's here, she whispered. I know, I said softly. Clara took a hesitant step forward. Ethan, she said, voice trembling. You've done so well with her. She's a good kid, I replied. Her eyes glistened. I see you walking with her sometimes. She's happy. You seem happy too. I'm not sure happy is the right word, I said. But I'm not broken anymore, she looked down. I think about what I did every day. Don't, I said calmly. Guilt doesn't change anything. Just be better for the baby you're carrying now. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Do you hate me? I shook my head. No, I just don't care anymore. She blinked, startled. You don't care? No. I've outgrown the version of me that begged for love from someone who never understood it. She bit her lip. You were always too good for me, I smiled faintly. No, I was just too loyal to a fantasy. Sophie tugged my hand again. Daddy, can we go get ice cream now? Yeah, sweetheart, I said, glancing once more at Clara. Take care of yourself. She nodded silently, wiping her tears. Goodbye, Ethan. As we walked away, I didn't look back. Ryan was gone. Clara was alone. And Sophie, the child neither of us deserved, was laughing beside me, calling me Daddy, like it was the only word she needed to know. We reached the ice cream stand, her small fingers sticky with chocolate. She leaned against me, content. For the first time in years, I felt free, not triumphant, not vengeful, just free. I watched her chase pigeons, sunlight catching her hair, and whispered to myself, she swore it was only work. But what she really meant was, love was never her job. And with that I smiled, because love had finally become mine. The years slipped by quietly, like waves smoothing out the edges of a once broken shore. Dad, hurry up! Sophie called from the porch, laughter in her voice. I'm not 20 anymore, I said, chuckling. Give an old man a second. She rolled her eyes.
You're 39, not 90, Grace laughed from behind her.
He likes pretending he's ancient. Makes him feel wise. I looked at them, the two people who had become my world. Sophie taller now, eyes steady, smile soft. Grace, calm and bright, the kind of woman who healed without ever trying to. I remember when she was half that height, I said, nodding toward Sophie. Sophie grinned. I remember when you couldn't even cook pasta. Excuse me, I said. That pasta was edible. It was tragic, Grace teased. But you've improved. I had good teachers, I replied, smiling. We drove toward the city that once felt like a wound. The skyline was the same, glass and steel pretending to be hope, but it no longer hurt to see it. Grace glanced at me. You sure you're ready for this? I nodded. It's just a house. It doesn't own me anymore. When we reached the old street, Sophie pressed her face to the window. This is where you lived before me, right? Yes, I said. Before everything changed, we parked. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The walls faded, the garden wild. Once this place held my whole world. Now it was just wood and memory. Grace touched my arm. Do you want us to come with you? I shook my head. No, I need a moment alone. They waited by the car while I walked up the cracked path. The wind carried faint echoes, laughter, arguments, promises that turned to dust. I ran my hand along the railing, the same one I'd gripped the night Clara said she didn't love me anymore. I could almost hear her voice, cold, trembling, lying for comfort. It's just work, Ethan, I exhaled. It was never work, Clara. It was always love, just not the kind that lasted. The front door creaked as I stepped inside. The air was still, heavy with ghosts of who I used to be. My old desk sat in the corner, scratched, dusty, untouched. For years, I avoided this place, thinking it held power over me. Now I realized it was just a reflection of who I'd been. Desperate, hopeful, and blind. My phone buzzed. A message from Grace. Take your time. I smiled and slipped it back into my pocket. On the counter, a faded envelope waited. Another letter from Clara. I'd stopped opening them years ago. She wrote every few months, apologies, reflections, maybe even confessions. I never read them. I didn't need to, I whispered. I forgave you already. You just never asked in the right way. Sunlight streamed through the window, landing on the floor where we once danced after midnight, laughing about nothing. I stood there for a long moment, remembering the man I used to be, broken, bitter, drowning in questions. Then I whispered to the silence, thank you for breaking me. It taught me how to build better. The words hung in the air, steady and warm. Outside, I heard Sophie laughing again. Her voice was everything the old house wasn't, alive, pure, full of possibility. I walked out, closing the door gently behind me. Grace looked up. All done? Yeah, I said. It's over, Sophie tilted her head. Did it make you sad? No, I said. It made me free, she smiled. Can we go get lunch now? I'm starving, Grace laughed. Always thinking about food. Runs in the family, I said, grinning. As we drove away, I looked at the rearview mirror one last time. The house stood there, quiet and small, its story finished. Grace rested her hand on mine. You okay? Better than okay, I said. For the first time, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The road opened ahead, sunlight on asphalt, wind in our faces. Sophie leaned against the window, humming a tune I didn't recognize. I thought about how far I'd come, from begging for love to simply living it. The pain that once defined me was now just a distant echo. The wounds had turned into wisdom, the silence into peace. As the car rolled on, I whispered to myself, "This is what healing sounds like." And somewhere deep inside, I finally believed it.